This is OL Nation. Welcome Laurentians around the world, across generations. We focus on knowledge sharing, thought leadership, professional networking, and of course, building bridges across generations of all Laurentians. This is session 15, Merit Matters. I'm Rohan Shetty, Vindhya, 1986. We have an interesting session lined up for you this evening, focusing on the Government of India Merit Scholar Scheme that ran in Lovedale right from the 1950s to the middle of the 1990s. As mentioned in our teasers and introductory emails, many of us remember somebody in our batches who we ran to for help on studies, on ideas, on concepts. And invariably, many of these brainy guys would have been merit scholars. They played a major role in our lives. And today, so many of them, we're proud to say, have moved on to achieve so much all over the world. Today is the 28th of August, and there's a very important celebration happening today, the 100th birthday of our very own Mrs. Enos. Several of us even started at Angelica before moving on to Lovedale. Several of us were affected positively, greatly, by her presence in class 4 as one of our first teachers. The OLA, through its foundation, is in the process of establishing a special scholarship in Mrs. Enos's memory. Should you be interested to participate and contribute, please drop us a line at olalovedale@gmail.com. There will be more information on your emails and also our social media channels. Thank you so much for your support. Moving on to our session, we have Kalpana Kutaya, Pankaj 1980, your host for the evening. Welcome, Kalpana.
Thank you, Rohan, and hello, everyone. Preparation for this session of OL Nation started with conversations with multiple recipients of the Merit Scholarship Program that was started in school in the 1950s. To get us started, I'm very happy to introduce our panelists and moderator, who are all Merit Scholars during their time at Lovedale. Our panelists for this session will be Latha Sabikhi and Mathew M. Joseph, and our moderator will be Jessy Jacob. After passing out from Lawrence School, Lovedale, Latha Sabikhi, Merit Scholar, Devda, 1977, graduated top of her BSc class in Dairy Technology from the National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, Haryana. After working in the dairy industry for 12 years, this qualified in the prestigious Agricultural Research Service examination and was promoted to the scientist in her alma mater. She completed her PhD and became head of the department in 2014, a position she occupied till April 2021. Latha has authored books, book chapters, and multiple research papers. She has guided 12 PhD students and 22 MTech students for their thesis work. Latha is a resource person for training prospective entrepreneurs and has been the chairperson, Placement Cell, NDRI since 2009. She loves to read as a way to unwind after a busy day at work and at home. After leaving Lawrence School, Lovedale as a topper, Mathew M. Joseph, Merit Scholar, Smeru, 1983, completed an electronics engineering degree. His first job was with BHEL Electronics Division in Bangalore. He went on to complete a master's electrical engineering from Arizona State University in the USA. Since then, he has worked as a design lead on microprocessors for Intel, Sun Microsystems, Synopsys in the Silicon Valley, and he presently serves as a staff engineer for Xilinx in San Jose, California. He's a US patent holder in semiconductor design techniques. Mathew is also the co-founder and director of the Hopewell Foundation, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that provides scholarship for meritorious and underprivileged children in India. Jessy Jacob, Merit Scholar, Devda, 1983, an architect turned wellness and leadership coach, is the founder of Fit the Soul. She helps women and the girl child from all walks of life achieve their unfulfilled dreams. Through her work with corporates, she is leading the initiative to help women improve their work-life balance while also achieving their personal and professional goals. Her work is uplifting women across the country, thus increasing their social capital. As a proponent of wellness, Jessy has devoted a fair amount of her life to fitness. As a trekking enthusiast, she has climbed to high altitudes and enjoys many other adrenaline-filled adventure activities such as parasailing, paragliding, skydiving, microflight flying, and zipline. With these introductions, we now ask Jessy to join us to share with us some insights learned from her many conversations with merit scholars across multiple batches. Welcome, Jessy. Thank you for being a part of OIL Nation. So please, can you tell us, from all the conversations you've had with merit scholars from Lovedale, what has been your highlight that you can share about them?
Hi, Kalpana. It's really a pleasure and a privilege being here. Ever since you all asked me to be part of this program, it's been such an awesome journey. I'm a really proud Laurentian and also a proud merit scholar from school. So this journey has taken me across decades. I've started talking to Laurentians from the 50s right up to the late 80s. And just understanding their journey has been such a beautiful journey for me. And it's been a real eye-opener to find out that across decades, the class toppers, 50 to 60% of the batches were merit scholars. And in my journey to find out more, I've also spoken to a number of the non-scholars and understood how the scholars helped the non-scholars actually get by in their exams and in academics, especially maths and science. We've had head boys, sports captains, both boys and girls, number of vice head girls, prefects across years. We've even had Nilgiri district champions from the merit scholars list. Even in debating, we've had a lot of merit scholars who've actually done quite well.
Thank you, Jessy. And actually, since you have changed professions and careers, can you tell us what in your current profession have you got as a help from when you start your time at Lovedale?
So, Kalpana, we at Fit the Soul, we create women leaders. Our mission to reach 1 million women in 10 years by 2030. So in that whole process, there are a couple of things that I really take back from what I did in Lovedale. To start with, we work on helping women think out of the box. For every leader, thinking out of the box is critical. So I always think of it as going to a buffet table. For me, my Lovedale experience was really trying to have lunch at a buffet table. The number of options for sports, athletics, debating, and whether it was horse riding or swimming, there were so many choices to make. So we always had to be ready to think out of the box and experiment. I think that is something that I teach all the women, and I tell them that you have to be able to just think out of the box. And to me, that came from my early years in Lovedale. The second one is goal setting and time management. And where did I learn that from? Lovedale. We ran by the bell. And one of my favorite athletic events were the hurdles. And it was all about 1, 2, 3, jump. 1, 2, 3, jump. You had to just choreograph it. It was like a dance. You had to do it, synchronize it so beautifully, because if you missed one of those, you missed all the hurdles. So for me, time management, it comes from just understanding how that happens. And so I always work with women on goal setting because that's so critical for them to get to the C-suite. Another thing that I learned from Lovedale is networking. Incidentally, I am married to a Laurentian, 71 batch, Mohan Jacob. So when we got married and I came to Bangalore, 90% of the people we met were Laurentians, right from the 60s to the 80s. Age didn't matter, batch didn't matter, just being a Laurentian mattered. So for me, networking just became a matter of habit. Even all of you in this panel, I know most of you all just because you're a Laurentian. And it's just so lovely to be there and to do that. So in my networking sessions, I help women to understand how to network effectively and make it a habit rather than a job that has to be done. And the last, of course, is my favorite, never give in. For every one of us Laurentians, it's ingrained in us. It's such a lovely thing to think that you should never give in. So in all our ups and downs, in our journeys, in our change of professions, in our thinking out of the box, in our goal setting, we always stumble and fall. And how do we get up? By saying, never give in is the motto of my school.
Thank you, Jessy. Thank you very much. And let you get on with the rest of the session. And I will catch you in the end.
Thank you, Kalpana. That was really lovely. So now I would like to introduce the panelists for today. Welcome, Latha and to this show.
Thank you, Jessy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessy.
So Latha, I have a question for you. As a young 17-year-old from South India, you chose to go to a college in faraway Haryana to do dairy science. Those days, an unknown field, especially for young women. What prompted you to take this leap into the unknown?
Thank you, Jessy. I'm delighted to be here on the OL Nation 15. To answer your question, Jessy, for the science students in those days, the only options or the most obvious options were engineering and medicine. But these options were not suitable for me because of the high costs involved. I couldn't afford these programs. It was very clear in my mind that whatever program I chose has to be low cost and it should guarantee a job for me once I graduate. I had a relative at the National Dairy Research Institute. She was working here. I heard of this program from her. What encouraged me to apply for the program was the low tuition fee, the 100% placement record, and also the very generous offer that she made to support me in case of financial difficulties. I appeared for the entrance examination and got through, and I landed here. Life became a little easy because I got a scholarship on the basis of my entrance exam marks. The scholarship took care of my boarding and lodging expenses. I also worked on campus, part-time jobs, doing some cataloging in the library, teaching school students who were living on campus, science and maths. And so I got by. Yes, it was a strange land and it was a strange place to where I had come. But I think we were trained in school. You just mentioned that never give in was our motto, is our motto. So I just followed that.
Wow. So it's really nice to know that you just landed up in a strange place and you just settled in because you were so used to meeting people from different cultures already in school. I think that's what took you there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. So I have a question for you. As a 12-year-old who was taken away from his comfort zone and put into a school where everything was different from what you were used to, what was the life-changing moment in your first year of school?
Hi, Jessy. Great to be on All Nations. This transition was not easy, especially because I was coming in 7th grade in Lawrence School after having completed up to 7th grade in schools where the medium of instruction was Malayalam. However, there were many friends and teachers who helped in those first 2 years, which made it bearable. Jessy, do you remember our English teacher in 7th was Mr. Adam Simon?
Of course. How can we forget him?
He was from Oxford and his English with the Queen's accent made it particularly challenging for me. One particular incident that comes to my mind that was like a pivotal moment was the autumn celebrations. Do you recall we had autumn celebrations every year?
Oh, yes, I remember very much.
So it was few months into the academic year, and during the autumn celebration, Mr. Simon wore the traditional Kerala attire and sang a Malayalam song, Onapuve, Onapuve, with Mr. Gurung on the clarinet.
I remember that.
He sang with such elegance and ease, and I sat spellbound through the entire performance. I came away from that event inspired. If an Englishman can speak Malayalam, then I could learn English too.
If he can learn my language, I can learn his even better. Yeah, but I also remember that you took part in that particular Onam celebration and you did that Autumn Tunna dance.
But that didn't go very well for me because every time I came into senior school, the seniors used to ask me to do Autumn Tullal before I get to the top flat. So it was only days before I found an alternate route to top flat.
So Latha, I have another question for you. Dairy science is even today not so popular, so most of us don't know too much about it. In your words, what is dairy science and what makes it special?
Jessy, I'll take your second question first.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, dairying is the livelihood for 100 million farmers in our country. For them, it is
Didn't know that at all.
Yeah, so for them, it is the only source of income which would meet their daily expenses. You know, all the other agricultural commodities are seasonal, so the income from them is also seasonal. If you talk of the agri-business bit of it, the net value of milk is more than the net value of paddy and wheat put together. So that is the relevance of dairying in our country. Dairy science as a discipline can be classified into two very distinct parts. The first one is the pre-harvest part of it, which deals with the animals and the farms, how they are maintained, the breeding policy, the artificial insemination, their nutrition, their upkeep, their housing, and everything to do with dairy husbandry. The other part is the post-harvest bit of it, where we deal with milk after it comes out of the cow's arse. How to store it, how to process it into different milk products, how to ensure their quality so that they go into the market as uniform products from day to day, and also ensuring the safety of the consumers who buy and consume these products. Then their packaging, their marketing, their costing, sourcing and fabrication of equipment and machinery to make these products. Then all the peripherals like the steam, the refrigeration and the electricity that is needed. So dairy technology, which is my area of specialization, is a multidisciplinary science.
I think dairy science came into popularity with this white revolution and all of that. So, I mean, even then we still know so little about it. Thank you, Latha. That was quite informational. So, I have another question for you. You were the class topper, both in the 10th and the 12th. The fact that you were the class topper, how did it make you reach for the stars in the semiconductor business? And also in the semiconductor business, tell us more about the business as a whole and your role in it.
There were very many smart classmates in our batch of 83, to any of whom that accolade could have gone. Suffice to say, I surprised myself. As far as aiming for the stars, that is stretching it, but there was always an expectation to do well in whatever I take up, mostly self-imposed. Coming to my professional life, I started as a chip designer with Intel and later with Sun Microsystems on microprocessors, the CPUs that goes into your laptops and your desktops. My current company, Xilinx, is a pioneer in FPGA technology or programmable processors. They invented it, and now it is close to a $10 billion industry. So just to back up a little bit and about the actual design work, the building block for these devices that we manufacture is the transistor. And when I started in the industry 25 years back, the size of a transistor was 500 nanometer. And my last design was a 7 nanometer design, which is equivalent to 3 DNA strands width. So that is a 70-fold reduction in size. So the chip that I designed last time is a 7 nanometer chip. You can take a look at this. This has got 2 billion transistors in it. So just to add some insight, it is the convergence of 3 key technologies that enable the design and productization of these devices. The latest process technology, the advanced packaging technology, what goes around the die, and then the design tools, which we designers use to create these designs. And the biggest challenge in design, test, and productization is we got to create them in plenty at reasonable cost for our customers. These chips are used in many industries. Just to name a few, the 5G communications. If you are having streaming video on your phone, there is a Xilinx FPGA chip on the background. And your autonomous vehicles, these chips are used for lane detection and object detection using machine learning and deep learning applications. And also, this particular chip has gone to space. It was in the Mars rover program. So that is the exciting part about this whole industry, and it's a good time to be in this business.
So Latha, here's my next question to you.
Okay.
How did your schooling in Lovedale help you to become the star in your field?
Jessy, star. Yeah. So I assume that by star, you refer to the leadership role that I played. That is especially the past 7 years where I have been the head of the department of the Dairy Technology Division in my institute. When I think of the leadership roles and the qualities that a leader should have, I realized that Lovedale trained us to develop these qualities into habits. So all the work that I was doing as a leader, as the head of the department, that is, determined to be excellent or excel at a job, to motivate my team to excel at a job, to formulate a team and to work in that team, then being punctual, bouncing back when there has been a bad patch, and developing other life skills other than the purely professional ones. All these are things that we were doing on a daily basis in school. So I feel that all the grooming came at Lovedale. So in my opinion, every Laurentian is groomed to be a leader. It doesn't matter to which profession he or she belongs or would like to go into. The greatest takeaway that I would mention here is my ability to mingle with people and at community living. My life at school taught me to appreciate the values that different cultures offer and imbibe from them, the good values. Jessy, we had so many children in school coming from different backgrounds, from different religious backgrounds, belonging to different states, speaking different languages, coming from different economic strata. But all of them, once they entered the portals of the Lawrence School, became Laurentians. and nothing but Laurentians. So this single trait of mingling with people at community living has been extremely beneficial to me in my later life, especially, or I would say professional as well as personal, both.
So Latha, here was a young girl who went there to get to do a course which you just got a job ready. And from there, you just went on and on and on till you got yourself a PhD and you became a scientist, head of the department, and then a scientist. Yeah, so it's so inspirational to hear from you that every Laurentian is trained to be a leader. So all you young Laurentians still in school, all you young old Laurentians, remember that we are all trained to be leaders. Thank you, Latha. That was really, really very inspiring for us to hear this. Yeah. So, MM, I have a last question for you. Kalpana mentioned that you have started a non-profit organization. Can you tell us something more about that?
Yes. It was 2 decades ago I got into this. At that time, I felt it was the right thing to do. I felt blessed and I needed to pass it forward. I had been hearing these messages from Lovedale days in our school assemblies. Help somebody today. We sang it together.
Yes.
And my own commencement speeches about giving back to the communities. So I got together with 2 friends and started a nonprofit and ran it in the past 2 decades as a volunteer. It took me a year and a half to set it up. And so far the foundation has given away about 150 scholarships. This whole thing has been a rewarding experience, registering the foundation, writing the bylaws, fundraising, distributing scholarships, and working in partnership with other nonprofit organizations in India and US on many worthy causes.
Help somebody today. You really took it to heart and you have helped 150 kids from your community, meritorious kids, to get a much better quality of education. If every old Laurentian were to reach out and help 10 students, imagine what a mega effect that would have on the meritorious kids looking to get better education. Thank you, MM. That was really awesome. And it is just so inspirational. Both Latha and MM, I'm so charged up and so inspired from your stories. Thank you very much. And now we have Kalpana coming in.
Thank you, Jessy. Thank you, Latha and MM, for being part of this conversation. You've had some very useful and interesting insights to share with us. I'm super impressed with the work that both of you do as professionals and making your contributions in your industries to the advancement of science, advancement of a lot going on in the world right now. We live in a very exciting world, and it's interesting to see what your contributions have added to them. I have a specific question for Latha, and then I also have another one for MM. So Latha, with you, my question is, where does India stand in the global dairy world?
Good question, Kalpana. If we talk of the sheer volume of milk produced, we are the top milk producer in the world today. In 1950, we had 17 million metric tons of milk that is produced in a year in the country. And now in 2020, we've finished with 198 million metric tons. So a huge jump from 17 to 198, and we are reaching the 200 million metric tons point soon. And I would say that this is attributed to the effort of the scientists, all the scientific work that we have done. Having said that, all this milk in our country is produced by those 100 million farmers that I had mentioned, each of whom have 2 or 3 animals. Some of them maybe having just 1. So it is, with the productivity of maybe 1.5 or 2 liters per animal. This is against, maybe an Australian farm or a New Zealand farm where the size of the farm is 10,000 animals, and each of them producing, 60, 70, 80, 100 liters of milk per animal. So that is where we stand. So the success of our dairy industry lies in bringing all these 100 million farmers together and to collect all that milk and to process it into it. Export-wise, we are lagging behind. I don't say that we are anywhere near the global standards, but we'll get there one day. I'm sure with the efforts of all the young colleagues that I have, we'll reach there.
Thank you, Latha. Thank you so much for that answer. And MM, if I were you, I'd be super excited with my work contributions, having taken science into space. So, and I understand you are a US patent semiconductor, you have a semiconductor patent. Can you tell us a little more about your patent?
So we deal with high frequency designs where noise is a deterrent for what we are trying to achieve in signal frequencies. So this particular technique was how to shield these signals effectively when it goes from the chip to the package. And previously it used to be a very iterative process, and we kind of completely automated it so that it doesn't have to go through the back and forth between the chip design team and the packaging team. So that's what that patent was about.
Thank you very much, MM, for that answer. And going back, before I leave, I just have a question. Would either one of you like to ask the other a question about something you'll do? If so, please go ahead now.
Thank you, Kalpana. I would like to ask MM how he raises the funds to help, those students that he was talking about. How, what are the sources of his funds? How does he raise the funds?
Well, fundraising is a hard job. Initially, I started with my own personal contributions and my friends. And later, I have reached out to the companies for grants. And interestingly, last year, my company gave a $10,000 grant, which is kind of a surprise for me. I spent only like half an hour to write that grant request, and they just gave it to me based on whatever we have been doing so far. So it's an exciting journey.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I had a question for you, Latha, because both our industries are so dissimilar, and I was wondering, is there anything the semiconductor or the chip industry could do to solve some of the pressing problems in your industry, the dairy sciences?
I understand nothing about your, what you talked about. It was almost like Greek to me. But coming back to your question, I think we can talk of we can think of, getting the traceability, like, back to the animals through these chips. If I've read somewhere that, the chips and the semiconductors are involved in this. You understand what I mean? Like, you have a product and we want in the market to trace it back to the farm from where that the raw material or the milk came from. Is it possible? I would.
I think the technology already exists, but there could be a lot more done to make sure about the traceability and the safety of these products. Something to think about.
Oh, good.
Thank you for that, Kalpana. Thank you very much. Jessy, you've been moderating the session and the concept of leadership has come up. You as a professional train women to be leaders. In the South Asian context, what does it take, in your opinion, for women to be effective leaders and for there to be more leaders who are women?
Hi, Rohan. That's a really lovely question. So for me, the passion is to just help women become leaders. And to do that, I realized in India especially, it is about confidence. We are taught as young women to sit quietly, to not make a noise, to not jump around. So all of these are traits that we carry on to our adulthood. And that stops many of us from aspiring to be leaders, or we aspire to become leaders. So this whole thing is about giving them confidence, telling them that they can definitely do it. And they are no less than anybody else there and anybody else in that position. So giving them confidence, teaching them to think as a leader, teaching them to dream, to dare to dream. These are things that we really work on. And we do group sessions, we do one-on-one sessions, we do Zoom sessions, all of that just to help women know we are there for them. And we will back them up all the way up to the C-suite.
Latha, I have a question for you. We talk about 100 million dairy farmers producing just a couple of liters of milk a day. At the same time, we have poverty in our country. What, in your opinion, do we need to do to increase productivity and at the same time decrease or eliminate malnourishment and, of course, reduce poverty? Because after all, this is the primary source of income for these dairy farmers.
Rohan, when we talk of poverty, it is not only the end users, who are malnourished. We must also talk of these 100 million farmers that you talked of. Yes, all the animals that they have mostly produce 2 to 3 liters a day. So we must, as scientists, we must do something to increase the productivity of these animals. Just imagine if an animal, we have 100 million cows. So if we increase the production of these animals by maybe even just half a liter, so it is more money for these farmers. And then Jessy just talked about women. 90% of the dairying work is done by women. So dairying is, a field or an area for women empowerment also. So you empower women, and you take care of the malnutrition, you take care of the poverty, and you'll be there. So this is what all of us as, the dairy scientists are aiming at.
My question to you is based on Moore's law. Taking Moore's law as a baseline and the chip you talked about with 2 billion transistors, where do you see ourselves from a technological point of view moving tomorrow, the day after, and beyond?
That's an interesting question, because I have heard that Moore's law is dead almost 10 years back. But even now, we continue to advance in technology. Then came FinFET transistors, which is like a 3D transistor, which has increased the packing density. Our next design is actually a 3D stacked IC. That means you're able to stack 3 or 4 stacks of dies on top of one another and package it together. That increases the bandwidth. And there is also research going on carbon nanotubes and quantum computers. So my sense is that the innovations will continue as long as there are problems to be solved and the engineers are working on those solutions.
Thank you for that. I have one final question for you. Take away from this session and your message to the old Laurentian audience and, of course, the Laurentians in 10+2. Over to you guys.
So before I close, I want to pass on my sincere appreciation to Oil Nation team. You, Kalpana, Rashid, Rohan, Jessy, and my fellow panelist, Latha, for all the efforts that you have put in to showcase the excellence of our school, Lawrence School, Lovedale. One thing that comes to my mind is continuous improvement or growth mindset. That transformation is possible at every stage in our life. When done right, the benefit is not only at a personal level, but it can help the people around us and our communities. So I want to leave you with that.
I thank the team of OL Nation 15, my co-panelists, Jessy and Kalpana, Rashid, Rohan. Thank you very much. And thank you all out there listening to us. While we are on leadership, my message to the young Laurentians in school, as well as the young old Laurentians out there, would be that if you aspire, all of you do aspire to be leaders. My message is that your individual aspirations should always be in tune with the holistic development of the team that you lead. Whenever you want to do something, whenever you want to achieve something, ask yourself this question: will what I am doing benefit my team? If the answer is yes, go ahead. And I would go a step further and say that if the answer is yes, only then go ahead. I'll leave you with that.
Thank you, team, OL Nation, for the lovely run-up to this whole program. Like even in school when Founders was there, it was always the run-up that was even more exciting. Thank you very much. And thank you, MM and Latha, for being such wonderful panelists. The takeaway that I would like the students of Lovedale to have is this: take it as a buffet table and experience everything. Take part in every game, every sport, and debating opportunities you get in school. All of this will help you get to that C-suite. And for all Laurentians, for all the men there, help empower the women around you, whether it's your sisters, your spouses, your children, your colleagues. And for all the women there, while you're on that journey to the C-suite, please make sure you lift 2 other women or 5 other women along with you. That's my little 2 pinning it.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for participating. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for following and supporting our programs. Don't forget, we have OL Assembly on the 11th of September and OL Nation again on the 25th of September. Thank you very much, and I wish you a pleasant evening. Goodbye.